Welcome to Music at St Cyprian's, and this our inaugural recording of a concert for streaming in this difficult COVID time and looking towards resuming our normal concert performances when the COVID pandemic recedes and goes away. But this afternoon we're now recording a programme of music provided by Alastair Savage and Alice Allen, very talented musicians who are no strangers to St Cyprian's and the concerts here, and who are going to give us a performance of violin and cello folk music from Scotland. So I think we should settle down and just enjoy.
Good afternoon, everybody. Really fantastic to be here. Huge privilege to be here. Alice Allen. Fantastic to be playing in this beautiful church once again, St Cyprian's, and to be playing for the Music Society. Hello, everybody out in Radio Land. So we're going to start with a brand new tune written during lockdown. I'll say a little bit more about it after we've played it, but we'll let you have some music to start with. So this is called Where the Good Ship Lands. Thanks very much, everyone. And I should say, before I tell you about the piece, a really special thing about today is that this is the very first performance being given on this particular fiddle. Or at least the very first performance I've given on this fiddle. It was the property of my great-grandfather, who was called Frank Savage, and he bought the fiddle late on in the 19th century in Glasgow. And it was in the ownership of my own grandfather after that, and then passed down to my dad. But the fiddle has been a wreck for a whole life, a bit like myself. And eventually I got the thing done up. So this is the very first performance, and made by James Gilchrist, terrific Glasgow maker from back in the 19th century. So delighted to be using the fiddle. And that piece was kind of partly inspired by Ayrshire, where I'm from, where the good ship lands. I spent a lot of time in the lockdown sort of thinking about the shipping industry in the past, down in Ardrossan, where I'm from, and talking to my dad a lot about all that ships that came into Ardrossan and left there. And my dad was 80 actually recently, so I was kind of inspired by a lot of these different things. And we thought actually that the last thing that we did before the lockdown, we did a concert featuring a lot of Robert Burns music. We worked with a great actor called John Shedden. And Ayrshire being my homeland, it kind of remained in my thoughts after we did that concert. So I thought it would be nice, having mentioned Robert Burns, to kind of use Burns as a sort of starting point to take you on a kind of long journey across to Ireland and then over to America. So this is a next part of the concert. It's just a kind of whole series of tunes, starting with two of Rabbie's sort of great tunes associated with My Love Is Like a Red Red Rose. The first one, Low Down in the Broom, is a tune we now know nowadays for the song. But after that, we're going to do Neil Gow's Major Graham of Inchbreakie, which is the original tune that Rabbie used after visiting Neil Gow up in Perthshire. Then a tune called Rosalind Castle that Rabbie used for a song called The Gloomy Night is Gathering Fast, just before he was considering leaving Scotland. He was very depressed and thinking about leaving for good. But it's a nice stepping stone. I'm talking of leaving Scotland. We're going to go from there to Ireland, and Alice is going to play a lovely tune called O'Carolyn's Welcome that the Chieftains made very famous. And we're going to use that as a stepping stone to do a couple more Irish tunes, The Teetotaler's Reel, Fair-Haired Mary. And from there, we're going to move on to America and do a couple of great sort of bluegrass tunes from America. I'll explain a little bit more about the American stuff after we've played it, because there's too many tunes to remember the names of, both for yourselves watching and for me. So this is kind of Rabbie Burns over to Ireland and then eventually to America. I'm not getting any younger. So that was as off. Finally, we got to America, and the last two great bluegrass American tunes. That last one's called "The Black-Eyed Susie," and before that, Angeline the Baker, another great American tune that's sometimes played on the clawhammer banjo, and it's a terrific sound. These great American old bluegrass tunes. And the wee tune before that, the slow one, is a brand new tune, again that I wrote during the lockdown, called "Lend You My Tears." And I kind of felt that I was listening to too much country and western, actually, during the lockdown. And when I wrote this wee tune, I kind of thought it'll fit really well with American tunes at the end of that big long set. So I suppose it's kind of, there's been so much kind of heartbreak really during the lockdown, and there's been so many difficult situations. Sometimes it's actually difficult to figure out what tunes are really about, but I suppose that one's kind of just dedicated to everybody and anybody who's been struggling through all this. And before that we had the great Irish tunes, and that lovely version of O'Carroll's Welcome from young Alice here. What are we doing next?
So next up we're going to play a big set of tunes by Scott Skinner. And Scott Skinner has always been a bit of a fascination of mine. I grew up in Banchory, which was his hometown, and obviously he's quite well known as being the self-proclaimed king of the Strathspey, and a really intriguing character and person. And he went off and got a classical training in Manchester, and then he came back to Banchory in Aberdeenshire, where he had obviously got so much kind of love and connection with that he needed to be there and work there. And I've always been totally fascinated with him, not least because he actually started his musical life playing the cello. And he would go around with his cello in this green bag and play in ceilidhs around the countryside. And he he learnt to vamp on the bass and then went on and learnt the fiddle. And it's kind of recognised now that cello and fiddle was the dance band of choice, really, in the golden age of fiddle music. And that's a tradition that has really been lost in the last 100 years, and Scott Skinner kind of marks the last sort of point where we can really definitively say that cello was being used, and he was writing for it as well in his bass lines. And this is something I'm really interested in and doing some research in as well. Almost all of the manuscripts of fiddle tunes from the golden age of fiddle music feature a bass line for harpsichord or cello. So it really is, although we see it often as a classical instrument, it's very much part of the Scottish tradition and has been for hundreds and hundreds of years. So I love this sound. For me, it's really historical and nostalgic, and I absolutely love it. We don't know much about exactly how it was used either. We don't really exactly know what its role was, whether it was for pumping out the bass line, whether it was playing really hard tunes high up. So that's all to be discovered still, really. So we're going to start with a beautiful tune called The Flower of the Quern, which has been set to words as well, so it's in Skinner's book as a song. And it was the first tune that Alastair ever played in public in his primary school, which was really nice.
Primary school concert.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago.
So we've got that. And then we're going into the Duke of Fife, Welcome to D-side. Do you want to say anything about these tunes, Alastair?
We were chatting about the cello. A lot of these tunes, Skinner, for instance, the Duke of Fife's Welcome to D-side, we think of it as a pipe march. Although in some of the collections, Skinner actually writes quick step above the tune. And the tune that we're going to follow it with another march, pipe march, the Queen's Welcome to Invercald, that again some people think of as a quick step and play as a quick step. And then the Strathspey to follow that, the Glenlivet, brilliant Skinner Strathspey. But again, sometimes people think of it as a skittish. It can be used to dance Highland skittish. And then the reel to finish is the Spain Spate, which is supposed to sort of indicate the river water in Spate. It's a brilliant reel. I suppose the other thing to say about this set is the fact that, Skinner was known as the Strathspey King, but he also, this set of tunes we're doing features two marches, because I think the pipe marches, the quick steps, if you like, are just as fantastic. And also, as you'll hear, Alice is going to play a melody in quite a bit of the time as well, so it gives you a chance to hear the tunes on the cello. Anything else you want to say?
Well, we have a sort of unsubstantiated theory, don't we, that he...
Oh, yeah.
Some of these tunes fit so nicely on the cello that it's quite nice to think that he imagined some of them for the cello, maybe. Who knows, but they certainly fit really well.
Yeah. Right. I should also say that this is our final set of tunes, so I just want to say thanks ever so much to St Cyprian's for making us really welcome again, and it's a massive privilege actually to play in this brilliant church again, so thank you to St Cyprian's for having us, and this is tune Scott Skinner. Just to try that. Thank you, everybody.